Another day, another dollar for the Trinity Tigers as they play the Regals of Cal Lutheran in another SCAC-SCIAC crossover match. Trinity coming off of a win against Claremont Mudscripts in very convincing fashion, beating the Athenas 82-62 and having a record-tying performance to a player we'll get into once she hits the court. We'll keep the suspense up. But for now, Trinity on a roll to start the season yet again, 3-0 on the season. Kalu starting their season against Trinity. And this is the first time either of these teams has ever played each other in program history. Luke, we got a very intriguing game of basketball tonight, don't we?
Absolutely. And you mentioned 3-0 Trinity versus a Cal Lu team that hasn't played a game yet this year. And for Trinity, it's been 3 matchups and 3 very quality opponents. So Cal Lu is getting a Trinity team that's pretty polished considering how early in the year it is. Their 4th game, their 2nd one at home after what ended up being a very, very strong close in their matchup with Claremont Mudscripts last night. Cal Lutheran's going to have to come out and be ready for this Trinity pressure that's certainly going to be present from the tip and find a way to settle into this game really, really quickly.
The starting 5 for the Tigers: Josie Napoli, Maggie Robbins, Ava Limoncello, Elaine King, and Natalie Anderson. So no change in the starting lineup for the Tigers so far this season. Meanwhile, for the Regals, Karina McMillan, Sarah Mills, Jana Hawley, Aline Ballard, and Alia DiMuro. Your starting 5 for the Regals. Ballard will face off against King in the tip-off as we are nearly underway here in San Antonio at CalGuard Gym on a nice day here in San Antonio. Certainly much better than the cold, rainy weather we had for the men's soccer regional. And here we go. The ball is thrown up, and California Lutheran wins the tip-off, and they are off to the races. We'll see how this first offensive possession progresses. It's dished in to Ballard. Ballard tries to get it over into the paint, but cannot find anyone. Intercepted by the Tigers. Big lob over to Anderson, who keeps it alive, but it ends up in the hands of DiMuro.
Clearly, Trinity trying to get out and run early. That was, I believe, Napoli who threw that one ahead to Anderson, but just too far out of reach. A couple of steady defensive possessions to start this one off, and already a 3-point try for the Tigers.
Napoli can't find the bucket there. Anderson will give a shot. Anderson will find it though, so 3-0 lead for the Tigers with about a minute into the first quarter. Regals trying to respond, but this Trinity press swallows up opponents sometimes. And Napoli harassing number 11, Sarah Mills. Mills trying to drive it in. Gets it into the paint. Can't get it to go. DiMuro with the rebound. And DiMuro gets the rebound bucket. So 3-2 now. Robbins with a big inbound pass to King. Napoli gets it over to Robbins. Robbins takes it down the middle, and she'll get a bucket. So 5-2 as we are off to the races early on in San Antonio.
Robbins just weaving in and out of that traffic. Trinity right off the bat having no issues with that Regal press to start this game. As again, we see a drive there from Mills going baseline to her left hand, kind of throws her body into the defense, throws that one also off the side of the backboard, but gets a benefit of the foul call here. Lane King just behind her defender steps up, but I think it's probably going to be on Josie Napoli instead, who was riding on Mills' hip right there.
Correct, Luke. That one given to Napoli. And with the Tiger press being as aggressive as it is, really frustrating opposing offenses, the best offenses, and if you're not ready for this Tiger press and to deal with them, they'll just stop you in your own half of the court sometimes. But Kalu gets the rebound off of the missed free throws, but it'll be an air ball Be Tiger ball either way.
It's an air ball, but I think the referee is also going to get DeMuro underneath with a little bit of a clear out. I think there was some contact between her elbow and Elaine King on that one. See it on the replay as both of them are walking away. Looks like everyone's okay there, but the ball goes back to Trinity.
King goes over to Napoli, wide open three, and she drains it. You cannot give Napoli that much room. There was really no one really 5 feet from her.
Ton of room on that side of the court. She caught it pretty deep behind that three-point line, but no issue, and a huge recovery from King. She's beat out of position right there, but it doesn't matter. She has great length and high points that block, just sweeping this one out of bounds.
Elaine King, one of the tallest players on this Tigers team at 5'11", just swatting that ball away. Robbins tagging Mills. Robbins gets an arm out, leads to a Tiger takeaway. Napoli getting bumped by Ballard. Robbins once again gives a pass to Anderson. It slips through her hands, so it'll be Regal ball to take the inbounds. Karina McMillan, junior out of Bonnie Lake, Washington, gets it into Mills. Mills back to McMillan. McMillan gets it to Ballard. Ballard hands it down to number 22, Holly. Gianna Holly trying to create an opening. Open three is sunk by McMillan. So 8-5 now, thanks to the three.
So far here in the first quarter, the Regals really not experiencing any issues with this press that Trinity's throwing at them. Talked to Coach Hill ahead of this weekend's games and asked him specifically about this press. It's been dangerous over the last couple of years as Limoncello hits another three. Both times from the outside, it's been nothing but strings for these Tigers, a couple of really good shots, and just really open opportunities. Not a defender even in the area.
DeMuro can't find the bucket there, but offensive rebound for the Regals. It's given to Mills. Mills working her way up the three-point arc from the top of the key. She can't get it there, but another potential offensive rebound. It'll be a jump ball, and it will be with the Tigers. The arrow change.
Thinking back to that press that Trinity's throwing at the Regals right now. It's a kind of different look this year. They lose Maggie Shipley, 6 foot long, really mobile, who they like to play at the top of the press, put a lot of pressure on the ball. They lose that, and they lose a little bit of the identity that comes with it. So I think in the early parts of this year, they're going to be changing, they're going to be experimenting, seeing what works best for them. Right now, after another shot from Limoncello, it's Natalie Anderson, the sophomore, similar size and length, that's playing at spot at the top of the press.
Regals trying to respond. Tigers have roared out to a 13-5 lead here almost halfway through the first quarter as that one is airmailed. So Tigers will maybe get the ball back, but it looks like it came off a Tiger potentially.
Yeah, Maggie Robbins underneath the basket on that one. What looked to be an air ball. She had her hands underneath it, just glanced off them a little bit and gave a second chance opportunity to the Regals. And Holly making sure she makes the most of it there.
Robbins driving it in with speed, draws the foul. So a trip to the free throw line for Robbins.
See from that replay, everything clean up top, but I suppose it was Ballard there getting called on the body, getting a little bit of feedback from the referees up here. Sounded like that's what he told the scorer's table the foul was.
First free throw, good for Maggie Robbins as Kaya Mack comes in for the Regals. Mack, a freshman. And what's interesting is on the roster that we have, no hometown or previous school listed for Mack, so bit of a mystery. We'll see what she can do on the court. Mills over to Mack. Mack gets it over to Ballard. Ballard with some open space, but an ambush of Tigers swarms her as on the court for Trinity now is Jamie Reedy, who last night against CMS tied a record for the threes made in a game. 7 threes. Only 2 other players have ever done that. And now she is the third. And she's just a freshman, too. It was her 3rd game and her first home game.
Maybe the most impressive aspect of it is the fact that she did it on just 10 attempts. 7 makes, 70% shooting from deep in her first home contest. Maybe Reedy just likes CalGuard Gymnasium a ton. Shocker that she's a freshman, but exciting that she's going to have a lot of opportunity to play in front of the hometown fans in San Antonio.
Mack puts up a scooper, but it doesn't hit the bucket. Mills with an open 3. She drains it, so 15-10 now. Robbins looking for an open Tiger, gets it to Minter, who is also a new face on the court, Kylie Minter. Anderson gives it over to Robbins. Robbins drives it up into the paint, kicks it out to Anderson. Anderson drives it in, out to Minter. Minter posts up a 3 and sinks it. So 18-10 as the Tigers are hitting threes left and right.
And both of these teams trading shots from the outside, but there's so much space on the court for this Trinity offense. Think about the members of those front court. Got some nice height and nice length, but they rely really heavily on that active hands on this defensive end. There's certainly some size advantages that they're going to see over the course of the year, but they're just so active defensively. And it allows for an advantage on offense when they can kind of just move around the court. They can screen on the outside and then just get out of the way. We've seen this Trinity offense already take a lot of three-point opportunities and have a lot of real estate to work with because of the spacing that's been provided.
It looks like we'll have our media timeout as we have 4 minutes left here in the first quarter. And it's been a very good showing for both sides for the threes. 4 for 4 for the Tigers, 2 for 2 for the Regals. And Reedy hasn't taken a 3 yet, but we know how potent she is. And what's even more impressive about that record-setting performance is that all of those threes came in the second half. She didn't hit a 3 in the first half. She scored 2 points, and then at the end of the night, she had 23 with 7 threes just in the second half alone.
Yeah, for those who hold that record now with Reedy, I think you have to maybe thank her for not shooting the ball even more. She certainly would have had the green light last night, but got maybe a little bit of a late start from outside. All those three-point attempts coming in the second half. Just imagine if she had taken 15 or 20 shots. I think the way she shot it, the way she was feeling it, the groove she was in from outside, she would have obliterated that record with some more opportunity.
Ashley Milton and Daniel Hubenak also having their names in that spot on the record book. Tigers are on fire right now. 6 for 6 for their last 6 shots. They've been hitting it very well. They have an 8-point lead. And the Regals have given the Tigers some pretty open space for open threes. They need to tighten up a little bit on defense. 7 seconds on the shot clock. They're not going to have a lot of time to work with. 5. And that one does get in for Ballard. So 18-12. Reedy. And a Regal gets an arm on the ball. That was Mack. So inbounding it again. Reedy will try to get an open Tiger.
It's been a nice job in the press for this Cal Lu team so far. Certainly making these Tigers think twice as Minter just barely gets that one across the half-court line as the shot clock hit 20 seconds. Certainly putting a little bit of...
They're going to call a travel on Sky O'Rourke. And that'll give the Regals the ball back. So missed opportunity for the Tigers. But thankful are the Regals as they get another chance. They drive it down the court with speed. And the shot goes in for number 12, Grace Godinez. And now Anderson working her way down the court against that Regal press. at the top of the key. She kicks it out to Minter. Minter drives it in, but goes out. The 3 attempt is in for number 15, Jennifer Trinity, the senior out of Orinda, California. Another 3 for the Tigers. They're up 21-14.
Perfect 5 for 5 from deep to start this one off. It was just great penetration from Minter. Looked like she had a little bit of a shot from the mid-range just inside that painted area, but kicking it out to her teammate instead and taking advantage of that one. Just steps into a shot in transition. Trinity now 6 for 6 from the outside as Minter hits her first of the evening.
8 for 8 for their last 8 shots. Regals trying to respond. They're down by 10 now. Ballard bounces it off the backboard, but an offensive rebound. Goes up. Mack with the center 3, and that's another 3 for Kowloon, 24-17. And man, it is really raining threes in San Antonio right now. Anderson looking around, trying to survey her options, drives it in, and being contested. There will be a foul. I believe it will be on number 12 for Kowloon, Grace Godinez. So Anderson will get 2 shots from the free throw line.
And Anderson just rotating, but doing a nice job of keeping that pivot foot on the ground, squaring up to the basket. She created enough space between her and Godinez. Defender obviously having to close back down after she had turned, and too much contact there. Anderson gets a trip to the free throw line.
25-17. That one off the front of the rim, so it will stay that way. 1 for 1 is Anderson on her trip. Mack with the post-up 3, and another 3. 25-20. Something's in the air today, perhaps, because it has been a lot of threes from the free throw line. That one is in, so Minter responds right back, 27-20.
Another thing that we talked about with Coach Hill is whether or not you're making a lot of shots early on or missing a lot of shots early on, he thinks that neither of those things are going to happen consistently. Always going to return kind of to the mean, that regression to the mean statement. Certainly something that's going to have to set in sooner or later here in San Antonio. The shooting just off the charts at the moment. I think Kowloon themselves have only missed 1 3-pointer, and Trinity clearly still perfect from the outside.
Reedy trying to get the ball to Anderson, but Anderson not catching on to what Reedy was putting down, so it will be Regal ball as it ends out of bounds.
I think incredibly impressive, frankly, for Kowloon, who stepped into this one and just hasn't missed a beat in their first game of the year. I think typically you would imagine they'd have a little bit of streaky shooting as that one finally comes off the rim. But right there underneath is DeMuro for a nice putback. They have 24 points here in the first quarter with still a minute left to play. And again, what is just their first match of the year.
O'Rourke breaks it off the rim. Timmons, Bailey Timmons, a new face on the court for the Tigers. Reedy tries to drive it in. Foul will be called.
Fast moving and a lot of shots that have been made, so not a ton of time for fouls. See just a little bit of a bump on Reedy right there, enough to garner the whistle.
Minter takes the inbound. O'Rourke driving it around, tries to get it in for Minter, but gets picked off by Mack. And a big pass. A couple passes for the Regals. They post up a 3, and another 3 gets made. So 27-27. That one from Madison Holden, I believe.
She stepped into that one with a ton of confidence. Always kind of a risk to take a shot like that in transition, but back the other way, Sky O'Rourke says she doesn't hesitate at all. Trinity takes advantage again, now 30-27, and that'll do it in the first quarter.
We would have had to take a look at some paranormal activity if that buzzer beater went in the bucket for a 3.
And that last heave at the end of the quarter brings that three-point percentage down just a tad, maybe to a bit more normal 62.5% for the Regals in the first quarter. Incredible shooting on both sides. 87+% for Trinity. What did they hit, Reed, in that first quarter? 7 threes, I think, off the top of my head. Just missing that one near the end, but great, phenomenal shooting to start this match in San Antonio.
Yeah, they are on fire. Both sides are on fire from beyond the arc. 30-27, close game. Tigers having 2 more turnovers than the Regals, but hasn't affected the game that much so far. There's not a big disparity there. But, man, Kylie Minter, transfer from Southern Arkansas, Division II school, having 2 threes, 3 for 3 overall. There's been some really good shooting all around, all over the Tiger roster, but they've been getting opportunities and open looks. And when you get open looks, you are more likely than not going to make those shots. And what's also interesting is that only 1 trip to the free throw line for the Regals in that first quarter, and only 2, I believe, for the Tigers in that second one. So we've been on the court more often than not.
Yeah, really quick moving first quarter here in San Antonio. Just over 30 minutes elapsed real time. Let's get things underway here to start the second. Trinity opting to go with a zone look right here. Looks like a 1-3-1. Maybe forcing the Regals to continue to shoot from the outside, but the different look causes the turnover right there, and Trinity will get the ball back quickly.
And they call a travel on Madison Holden of Kowloon. Limoncello looking like she will make the inbounds pass. Gives it over to Sky O'Rourke. O'Rourke drives it in, hands it over to Robbins, back to Limoncello. Elaine King in the paint, hands it to Napoli. Napoli trying to spin it around, and she gets the bucket. So 32-27. One of the commonalities for the Tigers last year was really good passing.
Yeah, and the ball didn't stick at all in that possession until it got to Josie Napoli's hands, and she finished it off with a really tough bucket. Nice touch off the glass and an awkward position falling towards the baseline.
And Max post up 3 rolls out of the bucket. Looks like whistle gets blown.
And it goes against DeMuro. An over-the-back call, kind of unorthodox, not something you see very typically when you have a 6'2 center reaching over the top of a 5'3" Maggie Robbins, but the referee saw enough contact there to peg her with her second foul of the evening, and she'll come off the court.
Robbins drives it in, and a very good pass over to Sky O'Rourke. O'Rourke over to Napoli. Napoli giving some signals, posts up a 3, draws a foul, and much to the dismay of Madison Holden. But that's going to give 3 free throws for Napoli.
Yeah, Napoli, I think just recognizing the pressure here on the outside. Holden overplaying her a little bit, not giving her a ton of room to land, maybe coming forward as she was landing. I think that ultimately created the contact. So Holden certainly going to need to be cognizant of that moving forward as she defends that jump shot.
So Napoli will take some free throws here. Head coach for the Tigers, Cameron Hill, who's been at the helm for quite a while now for the Tigers, and he's had a lot of success during his tenure. Meanwhile, for the Regals, the head coach is Kelly DeMuro, and yes, she is related to the other DeMuro on the team. That DeMuro is, in fact, her daughter, so she's a senior this year. She joked with me over the phone that hopefully she stays for a super senior year, seeing that she can tolerate her mother one more year as coach. That one's picked off by Limoncello. Limoncello trying to get 2 points out of it, just misses it there, and going to call a jump ball. 35-27.
And Limoncello jumping in front of this one. We'll see Holly come into the frame, maybe just briefly on that far side. She feigned as if she was going to step in front of Limoncello, but she had a wide open lane to the basket. Just couldn't get that one to fall with her right hand on the opposite side of the glass.
And another foul on the court. And Napoli will make another trip to the free throw line. She was 3 for 3 on that foul when she took a three. See if she continues her perfect night at the charity stripe. 8 minutes, 31 seconds left in the second quarter. Napoli sinks another one to extend the lead, 27-36. And, you know, the Regals, they tied it up, but now they are falling behind once again. And that's certainly not helping as the Tigers take a double-digit lead.
And already here, the Tigers have 37 points on the board, just under 8:30 left in the second quarter. But you look at the breakdown of how they've scored those as, again, Mills getting inside underneath the basket and finishing the layup. Trinity largely has scored in said offense, right? They haven't scored that many points off turnovers. It hasn't been that much in the fast break. They've just shot so well from the outside, and they're on pace to put up quite a few here this evening.
King with the ball, gives it over to Limoncello. Limoncello passes it into the paint to King. King can't get it, but rebounds her own missed shot. And a foul going to be tagged onto Sky O'Rourke. So 37-29, Regals get the ball back. And it's back inbounds. Mills hands it over to Holly. Back to Mills. Regals trying to work their way up the court as the press is in full effect again for the Tigers.
Talked in the first quarter about the fact that the Regals were doing a fantastic job at breaking the press, not really fazed by it at all. But I just don't think Coach Hill's going to move away with it, or move away from it, excuse me. The pressure is going to be relentless all day long. I think it's going to really test the conditioning of this Regals squad and see if they can stay poised enough all evening.
Limoncello nearly having a three there, but rattles out of the bucket. Tigers keep it alive thanks to Limoncello. And a foul will be drawn. Sky O'Rourke will make a trip to the charity stripe. Great hustle by Limoncello to keep that ball alive.
Yeah, just tracking that one down in the corner, doing a really fantastic job, saving that one to her teammate across the court. Just coming away with a steal right there, falling out of bounds. Nice touch to O'Rourke, who just steps through real slowly to earn herself a trip to the charity strike and knocks the first one down.
Kowloon trailing by 9. May soon be trailing by 10 if Sky O'Rourke shoots true here, which she does. So 29-39, the Tiger offense has seemingly not cooled down just quite yet, much to the chagrin of the Regals. But we'll see how they respond on this next offensive possession. Holly going to get over to Mills. Mills working her way down the court. Once again, the press harassing the Regals. Holly driving it in, and they're going to say she stepped out, so Tiger ball.
Even when you're not taking the ball away in the press, you just take the offense so significantly out of its rhythm. You're so disruptive that makes it difficult for them to get into their sets and get high-quality shots early in the shot clock. Saw it again right there. Tried to force it baseline, ultimately stepped out of bounds, but a real struggle getting good looks and running the offense for the Regals the last couple times down the court.
Limoncello overthrows Napoli, so Regals will get the ball back. Holly looking for an opening as Mills circles around back to the outside. She gets the pass. It's given back to Holly as Emily Lim is a new face on the court for the Regals. From the free throw line, that one is true for Aline Ballard. Napoli hands it over to Robbins. We know how good of a passer Robbins is. She drives it in. She puts up the shot, and she puts it in. So 41-31. Tigers continue to lead by 10. And not to mention that, they're also in the bonus.
Yeah, she plays with such great pace. She's real quick, but she's also always under control, has a great handle, and just harasses opposing guards defensively. That time poking it out from behind, but it'll still be Cal Lu ball, this time with a baseline out of bounds.
Robbins is one of the great pickpockets in Trinity program history, certainly currently sitting third place all time in steals for a career. But it looks like right now Tigers are going to get the ball back as Cal Lu seems to be making small enough missteps for the Tigers to slowly pull away. Napoli working her way past half court. She pushes in. Taking around the three-point arc, gets it over to Limoncello. She drives into the paint, but the foul will be whistled, so Regals will get the ball back.
This one's going to be on Elaine King on an illegal screen. We'll have to see the replay right here. Pretty close call on that one. Doesn't look like she was moving a ton, but I think on that, you want to see Limoncello just give her half a second longer to get set. Make sure that she's not going to end up with a foul call. She's certainly something or somebody that you don't want to lose early on in this game. Have her out on the court as long as possible. It's huge for this Trinity defense.
Number 5, McMillan gives it over. Ballard can't sink the shot. Anderson has the ball and the rebound now. Getting swarmed by Regals. It will be Tiger ball as one of them reaches in to try and pry it away from her, but just ends up out of bounds.
Yeah, and looked like she recognized the position she was in. Didn't have a ton of help in the backcourt. Just elected to throw that one off the defender's leg, and now this Trinity press break can fully set up.
And the Tigers move it down the court just a little bit, maybe looking a bit like soccer with a bunch of throw-ins.
Yeah, put the pressure on the defense, force them to make a play on it right there. Good job by the Regals to deflect it out of bounds, but Trinity moved it just enough down the sideline.
Robbins puts up, can't get it to fall, but that one is going to stay Tiger ball. I just couldn't keep it alive. And Gianna Hawley's foot touched the ground before she could launch it out. So Maggie Robbins will be the one to throw it in for Trinity. Jennifer Tierney back on the court for the Tigers. Robbins gives it over to Napoli. She's able to handle it. Napoli driving in. She puts it up and in. So 43-31. So the Tigers are taking a lot of threes, and now they're really working the paint.
And it was great defense from Gianna Hawley on that one, harassing Napoli. But Napoli, a really nice move, brings it across the top of the key, goes down that opposite lane line, and just a strong finish with her offhand, flipping it up and in despite that great defense.
And that one doesn't hit the rim, but the rebound points for Ballard. 43-33. Robbins once again trying to orchestrate some more points for her team. Limoncello gets the call. She defers to Tierney. Tierney passes it into Anderson. Anderson in the paint. Can't get it to go. So Regals with an opportunity to cut the lead just a little bit. Ballard drives it in. Covers her own miss and scores off the rebound. So 43-35, a good play by Ballard.
Yeah, and Robbins was stepping up to maybe take a charge right there. There was some contact, kind of pushed her out of the way, and ultimately it allowed Ballard to grab her own offensive rebound off the original miss, and she was wide open underneath for that second chance put back.
And the Regals are going to be tagged with a foul there. And we're going to have, I believe, a media timeout. We've gone through quite a bit past that 5-minute mark, but we've been playing some pretty clean basketball overall. And Jamie Reedy, if I heard correctly, will be back on the court once we get out of this timeout. I believe we are waiting for some free throws by Natalie Anderson, who was fouled on that last attempt. So 43-35 currently here in this media timeout.
You mentioned just a couple moments ago that Trinity really making an attempt to pull away here in the second quarter, put some more real estate between themselves and Kowloon on the scoreboard, but it's really just kind of hovered around that 10-point mark, just under that right now, as Trinity leads by 8 points, but they have a huge opportunity given the fact that they're in the bonus, and they will be for the next almost 4 minutes as the first half concludes. So Anderson will go to the line now to take a couple of shots, but they're going to have to try and get back there consistently and really take advantage of the penalty and of the charity strike right now.
The Tigers have 10 points from the free throw line. Meanwhile, the Regals have 0 because they've only had 1 trip. And that 1 trip resulted in no made free throws. And right now, that does seem to be the difference. Anderson with her first shot sinks that one, 35-44. Trinity still leading. Anderson with the second shot. Doesn't get that one, so 44-35. Regals are trailing by 9. And Minter gets her hands on that one. Reedy trying to work her way in, but bumps into Mack, who takes it from her. Mack goes up, but misses the open layup. And a foul is going to be called.
Yeah, and ran directly into Mack, who just ripped it straight out of her hands, had an open transition opportunity right here, and was a little strong off the backboard, but it was a good job of following in transition by Elizabeth Elder, who grabbed that offensive board and heads to the line because of it.
Elizabeth Elder, freshman out of Irvine, California. A lot of freshmen on this Regals roster. It's very young. Only 1 senior on the entire roster for Kowloon. But they're trying to bring that young team energy as Minter drives it in and draws the foul. So Minter will get a trip to the charity stripe.
A young team playing in their first game of the year. They've had a great showing thus far. Trinity continuing to rotate. Minter coming back into the game for her second stint of the evening. Her first minutes on the court. We saw her go 3 for 3, 2 for 2 from deep for 8 points. She tacks on another right there on her first attempt at the free throw line.
So 45-37. No, 46-37 as Minter sinks both of her free throws. Regal still playing on the back foot, and Ballard cannot handle the pass. So Tiger ball as the pass perhaps not the best, a little bit overthrown.
And Trinity keeping this press on, keeping it present in this game, but just changing the look a little bit. Going to a 2-1-2 right there, dropping Natalie Anderson from over the top of the inbounder, kind of at the point of attack, to the middle of the court. A couple of guards that are just trying to keep everything in front of them instead of a trap, and the turnover leads directly to points. Tierney with another 3 from the outside for this Trinity team.
So 49-37. Tigers have almost broken the half-century mark on the scoreboard. And I thought about a 3, thought better of it. Mack was the intended receiver, but Reedy got in the way, but it just ends up out of bounds. So Regals keep possession of the ball. Sarah Mills back on the court for the Regals. And Bailey Timmons enters the court for the Tigers. Napoli will head back to the bench.
A pretty young, or maybe inexperienced, or maybe fresh lineup for Trinity on the court right now, with Reedy and Minter both in their first year in these white uniforms for the Tigers. Tierney, someone that we didn't get to talk about a lot, at least at the end of last year, coming back from injury. So a lot of experimenting for Coach Hill, seeing what lineups work, who he likes in different positions early on this season.
Anderson drives it in, passes it out to Tierney. She takes a 3, but that one does not fall. But offensive rebound for the Tigers, but they lose the ball. Mack with a bunch of open space, and pretty clear foul there by the Tigers.
I think that one will go on Timmons. It's the referee's signal to the table. See it again clearly, as you mentioned, Reed, on that one. Timmons just trying to track that one down from behind, ensure that there was no easy layup.
So Mac will get her first trip to the free throw line. 49-39. Now 49-40, as both teams have scored 40 points or more here in this first half. Certainly been a high-scoring game. And now awaiting the next shot. That one falls as well. So 49-41, Reedy with the quick inbounding of that one. Timmons tries to drive it in, gives it over to Reedy. Reedy takes the three, and Reedy misses that one, but it's nearly kept alive by Natalie Anderson. Reedy trying to post up for a pretty deep three, but just a bit too shallow.
Yeah, caught that one, got it off really quickly, but just couldn't quite get set and comfortable. Comes off the rim a little bit short.
And the Regals give it over to Mills. Mills back down to Holly. Holly hands over to Mac. Back to Holly. Over to Mills. They're working it up and down the arc. And a travel is going to be called on Mills. So missed opportunity to cut the lead even further. And Kowloon will take a 30-second timeout. And right now, the Tigers with a 49-41 lead. You can see their shooting percentages, well, they've come back to earth a little bit. They are still doing very well on the offensive side of the ball.
Yeah, both of these teams off to great starts here in the first half. Trinity really with their best offensive shooting out of the gates this year. Seen them struggle at times, but just hasn't been the case here all evening. And you think about it, you look at those results, 80 points in all three games scored against really solid competition in each of those. They had some moments where they went through some dry spells. Right now, everything's clicking. 49 points on the scoreboard. Things are showing, and the way that they like to score by forcing turnovers via the press and getting those quick points in transition and off of those turnovers directly isn't something that they've benefited from. So as this one wears on and both of these teams start to grow fatigued, keep your eye out on that to see how the nature of it will change this game the rest of the way.
Minter quickly getting it down the court. Minter will hand it over to Anderson. Anderson down to Timmons. Timmons driving it in, puts it up, draws the foul. Won't get an and one, but she will get a trip to the charity stripe. And one thing that the Regals have been really good at, they had the Tigers in the bonus, 6 minutes left in the second quarter, and they have played very clean up until this point. But now a lot of free throw trips for the Tigers, as that one is sunk 50-41 now.
Yeah, it's been the last couple of times down the court for this Trinity team where those trips to the free throw line, the frequency has certainly increased. Game slowing a bit here at the end of this second quarter, but overall this evening, everything's moved really quick.
The Regals trying to get within single digits yet again. They've been playing catch up for most of this second quarter. Regals passing it around the arc from within the arc. That shot will not fall, but offensive rebound. That one doesn't fall. Anderson gets it back. And I believe
Coach Hill was asking for a push on Natalie Anderson right there, but there won't be any foul called. She fell out of bounds, but she was in possession of the ball. It'll be a turnover for Trinity, and the ball will go back to the Regals.
Mac posts up a very deep three, but that one off the rim, ends up out of bounds.
Saw that replay right there. Maybe a little bit of contact up top as Anderson was securing that ball, but just knocked her off balance a little bit, and she wound up out of bounds on the baseline.
Reedy gets the pass to Minter. Minter slows it down, lets the Tigers get set up on offense. Minter puts it up herself, but can't get it to fall. And another foul, as they're going to give that one to Reedy. And you see Coach DeMuro on your screen. See who takes these free throws here. I believe it's number 12. There's Godinez.
2 shots for Grace Godinez.
And Godinez is that sole senior on this Kowloon team. And she shows her seniority by sinking the first free throw.
A lot of youth for Kowloon, but it hasn't shown through at all this evening. Came out of the gate really energetic, absolutely prepared for this matchup that they had in front of them. Just a great opportunity to try and put their name on the map early in the year, and I think you can say they've done so. No matter the end result of this one, the way that they've played for the first 20 minutes, it's been absolutely phenomenal, and haven't been fazed by a matchup against a top 10 team in the country on the road.
We will no longer have a shot clock. 23 seconds left. Tigers fumbled that one. Able to get a jump ball out of it, but doesn't really matter either way because jump ball went to Kowloon. So we'll see what Holly does here. Hands it over to Mills. 14 seconds left. And a pass to Ballard. That one swiped out of her possession. It'll remain Regal ball. About 10 seconds left on the clock. Mills will be the one to inbound it. And the Tigers get the ball back. They're going to say that one went off a Regal and out of bounds. So 9 seconds. Timmons looking for an open Tiger. Tries to heave it over for Minter, but intercepted by Mack. Mack can't get it. 3 seconds left. And the last gasp there as Anderson fumbled it, but Mills' last second shot cannot fall. So at the end of the first half, oh, they called a foul. So we're going to get some more shots before the end here.
Yeah, you're right. Anderson had that one, fumbled it at the last second. I think at the free throw line, it's Sarah Mills standing and waiting to take a couple of shots. The officials are going to head to the table to see if time was still on the clock when the contact occurred. We'll see a replay of it right here. Red light on in San Antonio. That far scoreboard, you can see there's still over a second left when she loses the ball.
Hardin Simmons at 2 p.m. here at Trinity.
So she has it off right there, very clearly got that one away. That foul and contact certainly would have been before the buzzer went off. So again, it will be Sarah Mills at the free throw line, more than likely after this review is concluded.
It's a good opportunity for the Regals because they can cut the deficit a bit further, and the Tigers can't really respond to it because there's going to be less than a second on the clock.
Yeah, and the Regals have made a really nice adjustment as this half went along. They were pressing pretty much the entire time. Trinity didn't have that much of an issue with it. Obviously, you have Maggie Robbins running the show, controlling the pace. She did an excellent job all half. But as things progressed, Kowloon and Coach DeMuro made some adjustments, a lot more pressure on the guards in the backcourt, denying those original passes, trying to force some things over the top when the ball was coming in the sidelines, trying to force things in really tight angles, really close windows, and it created some turnovers at the end of the half, including one right here that sends them to the free throw line.
So 0.4 seconds left. Maybe just enough time to get one more heave off before the end of the half. Next shot off the rim, and no buzzer beater this time. So at the end of the first half, it is 51-44. Trinity leading Kalu proving to be a scrappy young team, keeping up with the Tigers, despite the Tigers having the advantage in the shooting categories. What's really hurt the Regals is the 15 points from the free throw line that the Tigers have had compared to 7 for Kalu.
Yeah, something you mentioned in one of the last stoppages is the fact that both of these teams' shooting splits really returned down to earth. Trinity just 56% from the field at the end of the half. Really, really impressive, but I think indicative of the fact that things really slowed for the offense as that half went along. Things concluded, and I think Kalu has to be happy with the way things stand. Down 7 headed into the break.
Don't go anywhere. We have about 14 minutes for a halftime break, so stay tuned because we got a great matchup between the SCAC and SCIAC. Stay tuned on the Tiger Network. About 2 minutes left in our break here in San Antonio, and the Tigers in the lead 51-44 over Kalu. But Trinity Athletics has had quite a good day today, haven't they, Luke?
Absolutely, Reed. It is a great day to be a Trinity Tiger. Some words we hear quite frequently. Earlier here in San Antonio, we saw the Trinity football team take down Hardin-Simmons in the first round of the NCAA playoffs. And we had another team with a pretty impressive victory tonight as well, didn't we?
Trinity Volleyball beat number 7 in the nation, Emory, in the Rome Regional Final. They get to go back to that Elite 8 group over in Claremont this year. 4 years in a row they've done it now.
A fourth consecutive year and maybe the most impressive run that they've made yet. Just a gauntlet of a regional. Not just a win over number 7 this evening, a win over number 10 Berry College in 5 sets. What was probably a match that had all of us on the edge of our seats up until the very end. A miraculous comeback. They were down, but they were never out of it, and they moved through to the next round at the beginning of December.
And the term bracket of death gets put out a lot, but the Tigers were certainly thrust into the fire. Had to beat a tough Wittenberg team in the first round. A Wittenberg team that had played top 10 opponents for their non-conference schedule. There was no weak opponents that they played. So that was a tough draw for the Tigers, who were seeded 3 in this regional, which is perhaps a little disrespectful if you were to ask me. Maybe I'm a bit biased on that one, though.
A little bit disrespectful, maybe, but just added fuel to the fire. They came out this weekend. They finished strong with that game, that win against Emory. Arguably the best they looked all weekend. Just a huge, huge performance across the board.
It's crazy to think that that volleyball team has an entire class of players that has not had their season end on the national stage in that Elite 8 group, at least.
A hard thing to do, maybe taken for granted every once in a while, but have to soak it in, kind of relish it right now as they head back, as you mentioned, for a 4th consecutive year, and we get underway here in the second half. Regals picking up just where they left off, not at all phased. Another forced turnover right there. They come back in transition, trailing by just 5 here in the third quarter.
Yeah, not the best passes by the Tigers. Gives the Regals some opportunities, but a travel call will take that opportunity away from Kalu. Tigers get the ball back. See if they take some more care with their passing now. Robbins gets open, hands it over to Limoncello. Limoncello up to Natalie Anderson. Anderson dishes it into Limoncello, contested by Ballard. And off to Anderson, puts it up. Can't get it in, but draws the foul.
And it was a nice job from Ballard right there as Limoncello caught it. She was right there, made her presence felt. Limoncello knew she couldn't get to the basket. Had to make an extra pass. Offense had to continue to kind of weave in and out. Anderson ultimately doing a nice job to get herself to the free throw line. First points for Trinity in the third.
And just one change for the Regal side coming into the second half. Grace Godinez will be starting ahead of Alia DiMuro. So a slight change for the Regals. Tigers keep the starting 5 the same for the second half on their side. Holly gets it over to Mills. Mills, maybe a post-up shot for McMillan? No, it passes it inward. Now it's kicked back out to Mills. Mills works it down to Holly. Holly all the way to McMillan. It puts up the shot. Can't get it to fall, but an offensive rebound. Holly over to Mills. Mills goes back up. Godinez off the rim. Tigers pick up the ball. Robbins will take it. Passes it over to Napoli. Napoli back up to Robbins.
That last possession for the Regals, though, ended with a Godinez shot at the top of the key, feet firmly planted on the three-point line. I can't imagine that's the type of look they want to get.
Robbins driving it in, hands it over to King, and King will get the bucket off the good pass from Maggie Robbins. 54-46 the score in San Antonio.
That one maybe knocked out of Robbins' hands just a tad. She did a nice job to gather it and just shovel it to her teammate underneath. Provided her with a nice open look. She used the glass perfectly.
And one thing that we have to look out for here as we get another foul. And now Mack is back in as Ballard comes off, as she has 4 personal fouls so far. So 8 minutes left in the third quarter. We may not see her for a while as they try to prevent her from fouling out of this one.
Yeah, easy to imagine she might have to sit the rest of this quarter unless Trinity starts to pull away a little bit and forces Coach DeMuro's hand. But right now, they're in pretty comfortable position. Been kind of in this range all afternoon as Robbins jumps in front of that one, leaves it behind for Limoncello. Just perfectly placed pass. She catches, comes to a stop, and kisses it off the glass, and all of a sudden, Trinity's back up 10.
Whether it's Caleb Harmel over on the football field or Robbins here on the court, interceptions all the same. And the Tigers force a travel call as the Tiger press just absolutely relentless.
The first couple of moments out of halftime, the Regals looked really good, but now Trinity really starting to settle into the third quarter. It's something that we've seen historically the last couple of years. They do a great job of those adjustments at the half, and they come out really strong to start these third quarters.
Limoncello dishes it into Anderson. Anderson surrounded by Regals. Over to Robbins. Robbins takes the 3, and Robbins maybe a bit too weak there. But Regals counter. Tigers got to get set on defense. It's an open 3 for Mills. She sinks that one, so 56-49. Limoncello coming down the court, loses the ball, but it is scooped up by Napoli. Napoli in the paint, over to Robbins. Robbins drives it in, hands it over to King. King draws the foul, and I believe she got the shot off and didn't see them wave it off. So an and 1 for Elaine King.
Yeah, but that one gets set up entirely by Maggie Robbins right there. Catches, makes the decision to cut towards the basket. A little bit of a crossover to get her between the defenders. And then she recognizes that the help came from Elaine King's man. She dumps down the ball, and King does the rest. A nice job of finishing off the glass.
And the Regals try to respond, but that shot doesn't go. And Tigers, good job keeping it alive, as that would have been Regals' ball if it hit that out-of-bounds mark. The heave over to Anderson is good. And more points for the Tigers, 61-49 on the touchdown throw.
Anderson doing a nice job using just a little bit of a shoulder pump fake right there. Gets the defender off the ground. Makes that a much easier attempt for her under the basket. A nice job from Napoli right there. Just rolling that one out of that pile of players on the ground. And Trinity goes the other way in transition.
Napoli deep 3, and she is money. 64-49. Tigers are on fire once again coming into the second half. 8-0 run over the last 45 seconds, 13-3 run over the last 3 minutes. They have been outpacing the Regals here to start off the second half.
Yeah, and this was a close one at the break, just a 6-point lead, I believe it was, for Trinity. So roaring out here in the third quarter. Now up 15 points after that Napoli 3. And we've seen her step into a couple with a ton of confidence, and she's stroked them nothing but the bottom.
And one thing that the Tigers are benefiting from is Ballard coming off the court. She is such a defensive presence in the paint, and she also gets buckets in the paint. Not having her on the court has seemingly left maybe a little bit of a hole for the Regals.
Yeah, and it was something that I mentioned in the first couple of minutes, the open of this second half. Limoncello caught the ball in the middle of the floor, but Ballard was right there to check her almost immediately. It forced the ball back to the outside. Trinity kind of had to reevaluate, make an adjustment, and find a different way to attack. Now, as you mentioned, there's a hole in the middle, and it opens up things for this Trinity offense immensely.
And as the YMCA plays, we got some football players in attendance over in the Trinity section celebrating their win over Hardin Simmons. They are likely off to Chicago to go play North Central. And we're back into this one. And Robbins contests that one, and the ball is still rolling on the floor. Mills able to get it back. She drives it in, and the pass, that one will fall, so maybe a little shaky, but points nonetheless for the Regals thanks to Grace Godinez.
Yeah, but a great pass right there from Mills, recognizing the defender was stepping up towards her, just wrapping it around with her left hand. Robbins just too wide open right there, had her back turned to the basket, didn't know that there was no defender behind her. Passes off to her teammate. It's a miss, but at least the Tigers will retain possession.
Robbins to inbound it, gets it over to Napoli, but is contested. It's going to be Tiger ball, but Madison Holden trying to pry it away from her. Anderson will inbound it this time.
Again, a lot of really good denial from these Regal defenders on these inbounds.
Gets it over to Robbins. Robbins hands it over to King. King to Napoli. Napoli driving it in. Passes it in to King, and King tries to pass it into Anderson. But instead, the Regals will take it away. They drive down with speed. Mills passes it out, but King gets in between Godinez and the ball and hits it out. Regals will maintain possession, but that'll allow Jamie Reedy to come in along with Sky O'Rourke. We'll see what Reedy does this half, as she only took one shot in that first half.
Kind of a similar trajectory to her performance in last night's game. Clearly someone that can score in bunches, especially if she gets hot from deep. Good pressure on the perimeter from Trinity right there. It was Robbins that forced that overthrow. Now under 5 minutes, there will be another media timeout in San Antonio.
And one of the things Coach Hill said he was very proud of is this team is not selfish. They will gladly ride the hot hands. Whoever's hot will be the one most likely to get the ball. So even though a player may not have a lot of shots on the night, that's not necessarily a bad thing, because if you go to the hot hand and keep putting up points, what you want at the end of the day is to get the win.
And I think you can say that's been the case in almost every game so far this season. Obviously, first weekend of the year, this Trinity team traveled to Marshall to take on East Texas Baptist and a good Mary Hardin Baylor team. In each of those games, you had someone step up. Natalie Anderson opened the year with a near 30-point performance. Josie Napoli did the same in game 2. And then last night, Jamie Reedy on fire here in San Antonio. But tonight, it's maybe been a little bit of a different story. It's been a very, very even effort. Everyone that's seen the floor has contributed in some way. It's been a just great performance. Maybe you shout out Kylie Minter, who's come on off the bench, hit a couple of three-point shots, has done a little bit of everything for the Tigers.
And Coach Hill saying that it is hard when you have so many capable offensive players to really mark one of them, because when everyone can shoot, then it is trouble all around. But trouble for the Tigers here, as that one is intercepted by the Regals. They keep it. Holden trying to drive it in. Gives it over to Mills. Posts up for the three. Can't get it to fall. Robbins with the rebound. Robbins, big pass over to Anderson. Anderson kicks it over to Napoli with the three. And she makes the three. 67-51.
Now Josie Napoli kind of starting to pull away from the rest of her teammates. Up to 18 points on the evening. Nearly twice as much as the next closest Tiger. It's been because of her great shooting from the outside. 3 for 3 from deep, 5 of 6 overall in the evening. She's gotten to the free throw line 5 times and knocked all of them down at the charity strike. She's been absolutely superb. The shooting in general from this Trinity team has remained impressive all evening.
And Jamie Reedy was fouled. I believe they called that one, yes, on limb for Cal Lu. And Minter, aforementioned, comes on the court. She receives the inbound pass as Kowloon pressing now. Minter looking for an open Tiger, hands it over to Anderson. Anderson gives it to Napoli. Napoli takes the three, and Napoli makes the three. 70-51 as the Tigers are blowing this one wide open, but the Regals trying to respond quick. The foul gets drawn, but no and one for Holden.
And Holden doing a nice job. Regals not being phased. Trinity continues to kind of lay it on here in the third quarter, pulling ahead big time, trying to just negate that by getting down the court quickly. It's a good job of drawing a foul, getting back to the free throw line where you can kind of settle down, hopefully get some points on the board, and then just return to normalcy. See the ball go through, set up the press that was really successful in that first half, and just continue to deny these guards for Trinity.
And that free throw quenches a 2-minute scoring drought for the Regals. And you can see the effects that that drought has had as the Tigers have taken now a 17-point lead over Kowloon. And Ivory Scott on the court now. Another freshman for the Tigers, one of two. Scott gets it over to O'Rourke. O'Rourke trying to drive it in, gets it over to Scott. And I think they said Scott stepped out of bounds, so Regal ball.
And really the ball handling responsibility is being shared evenly by Trinity right now. Possession ago, it was Minter. Scott checking in and immediately doing it herself. Of course, you have Reedy out there who's more than capable.
Kowloon able to capitalize on that opportunity. 70-55. Minter will be the one leading off this offensive possession. She hands it off to Scott. Scott gives it to Anderson. And Anderson hands it off to Minter again. Tries to give her a lane. She does. Minter can't get the shot, but Anderson gets the rebound points. 72-55. Holly and the Regals trying to mount a comeback here. Another big pass. That one's intercepted by Anderson. Anderson kicks it over to Minter for the three, and that one doesn't fall. It's a scramble for the ball, and it is just being held right now. And I believe the Kowloon timeout to maintain possession. So 72-55, as that one was just kind of in the hands of, I believe it was Holden, for quite a while as she was just sitting on the floor.
Yeah, just sitting kind of upright right here. Couldn't get it cleanly to any of her teammates. And Coach DeMuro chimed in from the sideline, screaming for that timeout. It was finally granted to him. Wise decision there is they'll retain possession in what has become a 17-point game here with almost 8 minutes elapsed in the third quarter.
See Coach Hill on your screen talking to the Tigers, constantly drawing plays up and thinking of new ways to attack the opponent's defense. Tigers up 72-55. They are doing very well. 11 for 17 from three is the team. It's a very good night for the Tigers, as they are potentially on track to break 100 in this one if things continue the way they are. But Kowloon will try to tighten up the defense just a bit. Emily Lim will inbound it. Gets it over to Holly. Holly down to Holden. And Holden confronted by Reedy. She gets it past Reedy, but 10-second violation. So Tiger ball.
Yeah, and that one real close. Again, Coach DeMuro having a conversation with the referees. I think she thought that one had been thrown in the air, so there was no player in the backcourt possessing the ball, but I guess technically they didn't possess it in the front court at that 10-second mark. So either way, Trinity going to gain possession right here, and that press really starting to take effect in the second half as maybe Kalu experiencing a little bit of fatigue in their first game out on the year.
And this is Timmons. Bailey Timmons drives it in, puts it up. Can't get it to fall. It's off the backboard. And now Kalu once again storming down the court. Holden having to contend with Scott. And that one isn't going to end up out of bounds. Tigers have it. It's still alive. The ball is rolling on the floor. It's picked up by Lim. Lim passing it into the paint. And foul will be called.
A little bit of a pinball action right there, and Reedy ultimately getting called for a foul there. Maybe an unfortunate position underneath the basket, trying to defend a little bit of a bigger player. I think she got called for a hold underneath, but she looked at the ref a little incredulously, wasn't convinced that it was a foul on her, or at least wasn't convinced that it should have been.
Officials coming together on this call. And they're going to tag Timmons with the foul. You can see some very happy football players on your screen. Cloud9 after winning their game today. That shot swished on the free throw. Jana Hawley will get another one as well. And congratulations to Kalu Women's Soccer. They advanced to the Elite Eight after they beat Hardin-Simmons. So, Regals fans, that's certainly something to cheer about. Reedy with the good pass. And a foul is called.
And that one going to be called on the contact that came against Timmons right there. I think it was Godinez who was stepping up, trying to defend, even though Timmons was electing to throw that one across the court. You can see from that shot right there, a little bit of contact, enough to warrant the call from the referee.
Timmons tries working in, ball slips out. Regals take it away. Holden trying to drive it in the paint, gives it to Godinez. Godinez can't get it to fall. Tigers get the rebound. And there's a couple Regals behind Timmons. She passes it over to Scott, who drives it into an open area. She'll draw the foul. And Reedy kind of hits the court a bit hard. Maybe the breath knocked out of her there.
Number 23.
We'll hope that Reedy just needs to catch her breath for a moment.
Third.
Took a little bit of a shot right there. I think it was Kaya Mack who caused that contact as she was trying to defend the shot from Ivory Scott. Reedy still doubled over, favoring, I think, maybe that left hip just a little bit, but she's just going to remain on the floor, play through it, and I think that'll probably ease up for her in just a couple minutes.
Scott sinks a free throw. And now on the court for the Eagles, 0-0, Amaya Charles. So now we have a 0-0 in the game. And, of course, we've had number 0, Josie Napoli, as that one gets sunk as well. So 74-57 is the score. And Charles dishes it over to Lim. And Godinez, they go around the arc. And Mack drives it in. Draws the foul. So with both teams in the bonus, there will be another trip to the charity stripe. And I wonder what makes the difference between a player choosing 0 and 0-0. Wonder what the reasoning is there.
Certainly not a number that you see very frequently anymore. I guess neither of them were remarkably popular, but I think sometimes players come in wanting a certain number, make some requests. Equipment department see what they can make happen. I think it looks good. It's hard to go wrong. Not a whole lot of people wearing it, so it certainly makes you stand out.
Scott gives it over to Timmons. Reedy with the deep three. can't get it to fall, but offensive rebound for the Tigers. And those are going to be points for Sky O'Rourke, 76-59. And now Regals, no shot clock for them, so they could take the last shot if they so choose. But instead, Lim will drive it in. Can't get it to fall. It's going to be Tiger ball as that Regal falls out of bounds. That is Godinez falling out of bounds there with the ball. So about 9 seconds left. See if the Tigers elect to take the last shot. Scott gives it over to Timmons. Timmons, and it looks like Godinez touched it, so it will retain Tiger possession. About 5 seconds left on the clock now.
Nice deflection there from Godinez. Makes it a little bit more difficult. Try and stay in front of everybody, but a great inbounds from Ivory Scott. Just knocked out of the hands of Jamie Reedy right there, and the disorganization at the end of the quarter. Trinity really unable to get up a meaningful look to finish out the third, but it won't matter as they've taken now a 17-point lead headed into the final frame. 76-59 here, the score in San Antonio. The hot shooting has remained steady, consistent for the Tigers, but the numbers for Cal Lu really taking a dive in that third quarter as Trinity started to pull away.
And Cal Lu has just had such a hard time really cutting into the Trinity lead at all. The Tigers have had a pretty comfortable lead for most of this half. And you have to remember, I mean, back in that first half, the Regals were keeping up with the Tigers when both teams were on fire hitting threes, but the Tiger offense, more experienced than the young Regal squad that is on the floor right now, has really shown their experience and battle-tested hardness.
Yeah, we talked about it already a little bit. This is a Trinity team that makes great adjustments at halftime and pulls away from teams in second halves. Historically, it's been the third quarter where they do most of their damage, but this season they've had a number of spectacular final frames. The fourth quarter has been where they've shined through their first three games, and that was certainly the case last night, where they really put away Claremont Mudd Scripps, put up 30 in the final frame, and just absolutely ran away with that one en route to a 20-point victory.
And a shout out to the Trinity men's basketball team as they win their season opener against Whitman up in Georgetown. They're playing in Southwestern's court, 86-58. So congratulations to the Tiger men. They play Claremont Mudd Scripps tomorrow at 1 p.m. Central Time. And Regals inbound it, and we are back underway here in San Antonio. Ballard back on the court. Remember, she does have 4 personal fouls, so not a lot of room to work with. It's put up, and that one isn't put in, but an offensive rebound. McMillan works it back outside. Robbins intercepts the pass. Side steps her defender. Lemoncello gets it over to King. King down to Napoli. Napoli over to Robbins. Robbins takes the three, and she swishes it. So 79-59, a 20-point lead for Trinity now, starting the fourth quarter.
It was a great pass from Napoli right there, throwing it one-handed, kind of just perfectly weighted, allowed her to put it right on the money, right in Robbins' shooting pocket. We've seen her take a couple of shots from the outside this evening, but that one, right in rhythm, she knocks it down for the first time from the outside.
Tigers rebound the missed shot by the Regals. King over to Robbins. Robbins will see what the conductor orchestrates this time on offense. And she goes in the paint, dishes it to King. King over to Anderson. Anderson working her way in, goes up for the shot and draws the foul. So a trip to the charity stripe is what Natalie Anderson will earn.
And she's really earned it time and time again this evening. Kind of feels like she's lived at the free throw line at times.
2 shots for Natalie Anderson.
Taken 6 on the evening already, so these will be her 7th and 8th attempts, most of any Trinity Tiger. She struggled a little bit, just 3 for now 7 on the evening.
is still 79-59. We'll see if Anderson can help the Tigers break 80. And she will. So a 4 for 8 night from the free throw line for Anderson. It is Trinity 80, Kowloon 59. Mills surveying her options, gets it to Charles. Charles back to Mills. Mills trying to work it in. Gets it to Holly. Holly back to Mills. Mills shoots the three, but no good. Tigers rebound.
Limoncello turns and gets this one up the court quickly. Napoli with a great pass right in the middle, but Anderson has that one rim out. Great wraparound from Napoli right there, who decided to go baseline, had the great vision. That one was a loose ball at half court. The Regals were bringing it back the other way. The referee will call that one an over and back, even though it was knocked loose. I'm not entirely sure what happened right there, but referee's pretty confident, and there's no real contest from the Kowloon bench.
Napoli hands it over to Robbins. Robbins working way in the paint, kicks it out to Napoli. Napoli playing with her defenders, gets it in, but cannot make the bucket. Offensive rebound for the Tigers still doesn't work. Ballard breaks free, only Robbins to beat, but instead goes to the pass for Mills, and that was a smooth sequence for the Regals.
Yeah, really nice play from Ballard right there. Robbins ultimately committed to her, so she waited to the last second to get that one out to Mills, who was streaking right there with her. Great pass off the bounce. Set her teammate up perfectly for the layup.
Napoli kicks it out to Anderson. She posts up for the three, and she sinks it. 83-61. And Natalie Anderson coming through once again, the sophomore out of San Jose, California, having a nice night for herself. McMillan goes up to Charles, posts up the three, and she sinks the three. Oh boy, are we about to go back to our three extravaganza that we had at the beginning of the game? We'll see what the Tigers do this time.
I don't think anyone would complain about it at this point. A lot of fun shot making so far this evening, especially early on, and some great passing the last couple of times down the court. As Elaine King benefits from that one right there, sinks it.
And McMillan will be charged with the foul, her first foul on the night. Of course, Ballard perhaps not being able to play as aggressive of a style of defense as she would want to with those 4 personal fouls. And one doesn't go. And now the Regals working it down the court again. Charles hands it up to Godinez. Godinez back down to Charles. Charles steps back, resets the offense. Charles hands it in to Godinez. Godinez, her shot does not fall. So Tigers get back. Napoli running down the court. And Napoli hands it to King, and King draws the foul.
Napoli just getting into such a dangerous position on the block right there. She didn't have the shot herself, but so much movement out of this Trinity offense. King coming right off her hip. It's another nice pass. Can't put it in, but Trinity retains possession right here.
And Jalen Martin and Maddie Muller on the court for the Tigers now.
You see that replay. Godinez doing a nice job. She was ready as Elaine King caught the ball and was able to tie her up. At least so it seemed. Now Elaine King headed to the free throw line. She'll shoot a couple.
That one rattles out. So 85-64, still the score here in this game between Region 10 teams. That one goes in though. So 86-64 now. Of course, one thing that's on the table is potentially a regionally ranked win, which is oh so important getting into the final stretches of the season. Kowloon being picked to finish second in the SCIAC is always on the table to be on those regional rankings. Pass up to Charles. Mills posts up a 3, and she sinks it. So 86 to 67 as perhaps the Kowloon offense starting to heat up again.
Yeah, starting to knock down some shots in the fourth quarter, exactly when you need it to happen. Didn't come out of halftime incredibly strong in that third quarter, allowed Trinity to pull away a little bit. Thought maybe it might have been some fatigue, but their legs are back under them here coming down the stretch. As Mills, with some nice hesitation, finds herself in the short corner and will let that one launch, but it just falls off the rim.
And the rebounds from the Regals allow them to get some points. So 86-69 now. Tigers working it back down. Anderson can't hand it off to Robbins. Good defense by the Regals. She gives it to Muller instead. Muller working it in. Can't put it in, though. So Godinez tries to get it to Mills. Robbins contests it, but now Mills gives it to Charles. Takes the open 3, but it is a brick. So Maggie Robbins is being harassed by Regals. She draws the foul.
And Robbins doing a nice job of initiating that contact right there. Certainly the veteran of the two. Charles, just a sophomore, trying to kind of concede some space, but Robbins really forcing the issue. After that initial reach in, Charles maybe just getting penalized for having that arm in there a little bit, but a nice job from Robbins just selling that one and drawing a foul.
And now we are having our media timeout. We are 5 minutes within this fourth quarter. Not a lot of time for Kowloon to work with now, as things are slowly starting to run out for the Regals. They are down 86-69. Really need to get things going on offense, but right now, perhaps the bigger problem is the Tiger offense just maintaining their pace. They come back out onto the court.
It's been steady pretty much all night. Really no one quarter that jumps off the page at you. I think that's exactly what you want to see out of any offense. Just a real designation or showing that you have everything working and that your shot's really falling. Typically you see those big quarters where the press is working more effectively than others. They stand out on that score line at the end of the day, but this evening things have been, again, really consistent as Maggie Robbins, the steady hand at the helm of this offense, drives down the middle of the lane and finishes that one off the glass with the chance for one more at the free throw line. The shot making has just been great in every single quarter. It's been 20 to 30 points each time out, every frame.
And that officially puts Trinity in the bonus. So we may be seeing a bit more trips to the charity stripe for the Tigers. Godina is able to get the rebound. So now number 1, Janessa Ong, working her way down the court. New face for the Regals is Ong. And the 3 from Mills off the rim. The 3 from Mack. That one's good, though. So 88-72 as this high-scoring affair scores ever higher. And Napoli trying to work her way into the paint. She does. And she does get the call. So another trip to the charity stripe for Napoli. She's 5 for 5 tonight.
A little bit of a late whistle on that one right there, but just great control of play by Josie Napoli. It was pretty clear that the defender and Ong came through her body after she went up for that shot, but just totally controlling the pace of play right there, crossing over right around the free throw line. A little bit of hesitation that created that opportunity for her to get past her defender.
Napoli continues her perfect streak in this game, 89-72 now. We'll see if the Tigers break 90. And they do. So 90-72. Regals We'll have to respond quickly as 4 minutes now in this fourth quarter. Mack trying to drive it in. Has to contest with Scott. Kicks it out. The shot from Ong off the front of the rim, but covers herself. Mack takes the three, but that one's off the rim. Natalie Anderson gets fouled, so it looks like we're going to get another trip to the free throw line.
Yeah, never something that you want to see at this stage of the game. Just fouls so far from the basket. It's 90, almost 90 feet from the opponent's basket, and automatically they go back to the free throw line to shoot a couple shots.
Shot from Anderson. She sinks that one, so 91-72 now. Anderson trying to come away with a clean 2-for-2 trip, and she does. So 92-72. Tigers up by 20 again. And that'll be it for Anderson on the night, most likely. And now the Regals working against a young Tiger lineup on the court now.
And a pretty small Tiger lineup at that. Really 5 guards. Maybe you have a forward or two out there, but they're running this 1-3-1 zone. And there's a lot of activity on the defensive end right now for Trinity. That one, a possession that works really well in their favor.
Napoli will lead this young squad out here. Scott trying to drive it in. Kicks it out to Martin. Driven in. And 2 points for the Tigers thanks to Jalen Martin. 94-72, the sophomore from Ashburn, Virginia.
Yeah, and real methodical possessions a couple times down here for Trinity. Ball handlers just doing a great job of probing, keeping their dribble alive, kind of stepping out, drawing the defenders towards them, then blowing right past them. A really impressive take from Martin with that finish high off the glass.
Speaking of Martin, she gets the rebound as the Tigers move down the court again. Scott driving into the paint, puts it up. That one doesn't fall, but it will retain Tiger possession as that one went off of a Regal before going out of bounds.
Also interesting on the offensive end right now, not a true big on the floor for Trinity. Only 5 guards, maybe a forward out there, but going to run some things differently on the offensive end, of course, given the personnel they have on the court.
Deanna Broughton, my apologies, on the court now for the Regals as they make a lot of substitutions. Alanea Godfrey also on the court, so a couple new faces. Lim hands it up to Ong. Ong hands it back down. That three won't go for Elizabeth Elder. So
pretty quickly off the glass right there. The referee blows his whistle for the jump ball. So this one going to head back the other direction.
Scott, we'll see if the Tigers are able to break 100, because they keep playing the game at the same intensity no matter the score. O'Rourke trying to work it in, out to Scott. Scott drives it in, goes back out to O'Rourke. O'Rourke fumbles the ball, but Martin there to pick it up. Tries to get the pass over to Scott. It's picked up by O'Rourke, and we will get a foul.
And I think this one's certainly in hand for Trinity at this point. So the referees swallowing their whistles just a little bit, trying to allow things to play out here, but just too much contact on Sky O'Rourke right there. Ultimately draws the foul call, and she'll go to the foul line with Trinity in the bonus.
She's 2 for 2 tonight. Tigers up 94-72. That one won't go in. This is, and now O'Rourke with her second free throw. And that one will end up out of bounds. It'll be Regal ball. So 94-72 the score. Of course, the Brian Yanselson initiative for whenever Trinity hits 100, the gym should get free tacos. I don't think we may not get free tacos tonight, but there's still a chance. That will maintain Regal possession.
I always liked the thought. It was a workshop idea, clearly. It never came to fruition. If it had, then clearly the Trinity women's basketball team would have been putting the school in a tough position week in and week out with the capacity with which they can score points. Certainly used to seeing them break that century mark here in San Antonio. They've done it a handful of times the past couple of years. As that one beats the buzzer. One-legged shot right there. I think it was Godfrey who hit that one as time was running down on the shot clock.
1 minute left in San Antonio. O'Rourke, she gets the shot. So 96-75. We'll see how fast this game ends up being played. That one is passed over, so Tiger ball, 44 seconds left.
One way or another, Trinity will set a new scoring high on the year. 96 points and perhaps still counting here in San Antonio. First time they broke 90 on the season. 80 in every game to this point. And again, it's been against really good competition as Mueller misses that one long off the back iron. Rebound to the Regals as they come back and the shot clock is turned off.
No more shot clock. We'll see if the Regals take a shot here. And Ong with the three, and she swishes it. So 96-78. Tigers will likely get one more offensive possession. Big throw to Martin. And Martin drives it down the court, driving it into the paint, puts it up. Can't put it in, however. So 5 seconds left. And Godfrey loses the ball. And that's how the game will end. Tigers blast the Regals 96-78 in CalGuard Gym, as the home opening weekend for Trinity is nothing but a success.
And there were some moments in this one, Reed, where it felt like Trinity could do no wrong, especially when it came to their performance shooting the basketball. Absolutely electric from the perimeter. You see the numbers on your screen. 59+% from the outside. It was a Regals team that had a pretty solid season opening performance themselves, especially from three-point land, but always hard to overcome any opponent that can shoot better than 50% from three, and that's exactly what the Tigers did in their second game at home, their second victory in San Antonio.
Yeah, Napoli having a great night, 23 points, 6 for 8, and 4 of those being threes. She had a spectacular night on the court.
Yeah, perfect from deep, 4 for 4 from that territory, 7 for 7 from the free throw line to help her. A really efficient night above all else. Just 8 attempts on the evening, shot 75% from the field for that 23 points that she finished with. But she shared the wealth a little bit, 3 assists as well, carrying a lot of the responsibilities of leading the offense alongside Maggie Robbins. It was a really just overall impressive performance. Everyone chipping in. Robbins with 11 herself. Anderson 16, King 8, Limoncello 7. Off the bench, Kylie Minter with a nice performance, especially in that first half. She did the bulk of her scoring. She finished the evening with 10.
And when we talked to Coach Hill, he said, with how good this team is, those big performances could be from anybody on this roster. And certainly, once again, Napoli with that nice performance. Meanwhile, for Kowloon, Sarah Mills, 16 points. She was hitting a lot of threes as well. She took 9 threes. She made 3 of them. Also made 3 shots beyond that. But for Kowloon, just unable to keep up with a hot Tiger offense.
Yeah, and a really difficult thing to do, especially in your first game of the season. A top-ranked opponent in the country, Trinity coming into this one, number 6 at the moment, I believe. So Cal-Lu certainly had a lot of fight in them, but fell short here in their season opener in San Antonio. Final 96-78. They'll be back at it tomorrow.
They will be back at it tomorrow against another purple team in Hardin-Simmons. They'll be playing each other at 2 o'clock Central Standard Time. Just for any Cal-Lu fans that may be listening, I know time zones always get in the way of things. And for Luke Terry, everyone in the control room, the camera operators, the people working the stats, and everyone helping bringing this production to be as good as it is day in and day out. For the Tiger Network, I am Reed Rosales signing off.